All right. Hello. Hi, everyone. How are you? Hey, Roger Wilson. How are you today?
Great. Glad to
Great.
be.
Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us today from Greenwood, Indiana, by way of Muncie, your hometown. How are you?
I'm doing great. The weather is beautiful, and I look forward to this interview.
Oh, I look forward to having it with you. What is the weather like there? I know I can tell it's beautiful, just like mine here, but what's the temp, you think?
Oh, it's like 81. I think it is 81 today. It's going to be a high of 90, but beautiful blue skies and sitting by the pool.
Well,
Doing
mine's 76 and it's going to be a high of 80. And I'm in long sleeves and I'm kind of like chilly. So it's really crazy. If I'm out and I'm not like directly in the sun, I'd rather be in the house under a blanket. That's how I am. I feel like 76 is still kind of cold, which is really crazy. Okay, Mr. Indiana man. I don't know what to call you. I know I'm born and raised in Missouri, so I'm a Missourian, but what do you call it? Indianian.
we're those Hoosiers, like the
Oh,
movie.
the Hoosiers. Yes.
The
So I
Indiana
can call
Hoosiers.
you a Hoosier and not be like disrespectful.
That is correct. Yes. I'm not sure. It seems like there's a lot of definitions of what a Hoosier is. So who knows what.
What's your favorite sports team?
Well, I'm in Indiana. I do the Colts, but long time ago when I was very young, for whatever reason, from Indiana, I was a big New England Patriots fan. And as time has gone, being a Indiana and being a Patriots fan is not a good combination. So
Yeah,
um, I stay strong though. I stay strong. I like to watch the Colts. I like, to basically support the local team or whatever, but I still follow the Patriots. But, honestly, though, having teenagers, high school sports, I mean, it's amazing. I look forward during football season and basketball season at the high school to Friday nights or whatever and watch those teams play or whatever. It's still kind of at that level where it's pure and, the kids are out there just playing because they love it. So.
well, I totally agree with that. My dad, he lives in Indiana as well, and so he's definitely a Colts fan.
Right.
But of course, he is born and raised in St. Louis, so he's a Cardinals fan.
Yeah.
But my daughter's school is literally just right over there, so I get to hear like the high school sports, and it is good.
Yeah, very nice.
We lived here so she could walk to school, and even before she had her own car and was driving, she never walked, so I would have to get out of the comfort of my sleep to take her, because I don't know who she thought she was. I was driving Miss Daisy apparently, and she was Miss Daisy, but she never walked. So yeah.
Well, when we moved 2 years ago, when I got back, we moved, but they stayed in their high schools. This one just graduated, is a senior this year, and
Oh, nice.
they both had to learn to drive. So for 1 year, my youngest had to be driven by her sister. So you can only imagine how that went. Every morning, we're leaving now, and those types of things. But they both drive now, and one left to go, and we'll see how it goes after that.
So the one that's left to go is going into her senior year.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
Yes,
Same for my daughter. So I said I was ready for her to go. And now yesterday I'm like, what do you think about going to a community college the first 2 years?
Well, the one that just graduated is starting college in August. And she's going to a nursing program, but it's only like 25 minutes away. But she's going to live on campus because they thought it would be good and be part of the environment. But I keep saying I am, but my wife keeps posting things about, she's not going to be down the hall and she's not going to be this. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm starting to think about this. Maybe it's going to be a big deal, I think.
It is. Well, we can struggle together because once mine leaves, yours will all be gone and we can just have like Zoom. You can have your like old fashions or your Manhattan. Since we're here talking about wisdom today, you're probably a guy who drinks Manhattans like my husband and old fashions. I'm a wine kind of girl. I like mimosas.
Mix it up, but no, and sometimes some days it's just a good bourbon by itself. It doesn't even have to be.
That's my husband. He has a nice collection of bourbons and whiskeys and stuff that burns my nose hairs when I put it up to my lips. I can't even like swallow it, but I appreciate that.
Bourbon and wisdom and wiseness go together, I think.
Yeah, that's right. He looked real sexy when he drinking it, but I just can't stomach the thought of putting it in my throat. I just like, not yet. Maybe when I a little wiser. So clearly you're a father and a husband. I thought this was super awesome, okay, that you're not only in the Army, but you've also served in the Marines.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay. So what, how?
Well, when I was basically I graduated, I decided my brother, I have 6 brothers. So one brother that's in front of me was joining the Marines. He's like a year and a half, 2 years older than me. But we were only like a year apart in high school. So when he was joining, I thought, well, I'm going to join. So I decided I was going to skip my senior year. I basically graduated a year early from high school.
Oh, likewise, me too.
I could go in the Marines with, right after he did. I think he left, the previous like November, October, something like that. Then I left the following August or whatever, and went to the Marines, and they, did that. I was a pretty small guy. I wasn't, whatever. But a lot of people are like, wow, it's going to be really hard for you. And I don't know. And that type of thing. And then I said, well, I can prove them wrong. And I did it. And then they pretty much just where it all started. I traveled around, and, at one point I was in Japan and he was in Portugal as an embassy security guard. And I was on a Marine detachment on an aircraft carrier in Japan for 2 years or whatever. So it was just that. And then, I got out for quite a while, had a break in service. And then really just nothing ever seemed, just missed the military or whatever. And one day decided to go down there, and 15 years ago or whatever, and 16 years ago, and said, I'm going back in the Army. So I did. But I come from a military family. My dad was the Navy. I have retired Air Force, Army, Marines, all that. So
Oh, wow.
it's kind of in our family. So we
Now
do
y'all
that.
just need somebody to join the Space Force.
Wait for that. Yeah, the Space Force National Guard that's going to come or something. I don't know. But I mean, that really was, honestly, to be perfect, that's where really at 17, I literally was gone at 17, and just went to boot camp. And then they sent me to my first duty station was Yokosuka, Japan. So I was 17-year-old.
Wow.
On the other side of the world, basically. And before that, before I flew to basic training, really had never traveled anywhere, did anything. And next thing you know, I'm sitting in Yokosuka, Japan, and traveling the world and going to all over the Far East and everything. And that kind of really was maybe that's what started me wanting to travel even more and see the world and that type of thing. So yeah.
Well, I would say your life of wisdom started at 17 then.
I would think so. To be perfectly honest, it was one of those where it seemed like I was always involved, maybe with just doing older things, really didn't do the typical things as younger. I was in the Boy Scouts, and I was holding different offices and being involved in different things like that. So it was kind of but it always seemed like the people I were around were never my age. They were always older than me.
Yeah.
That's having older. I was the youngest of 7 sons, right? So,
Wow.
I was always around older people. So maybe it started earlier. I don't know. But yeah, I kind of, I guess you wanted to put a mark on it. That's kind of where it was, 17. And, now you're in charge of these special weapons in Yokosuka, Japan, and said, all right, it's all up to you now. You're 17. Wow. Do this.
Well, I'm in my middle-ish 30s, and all of my friends are, some of my friends are around literally 40, but most of my friends are 45 to 50, and I love it. They teach me so much. I really love that age range. They're gorgeous, they're beautiful people, but they're so accomplished. They're wise, they're teaching me, they're pulling me up to where they are. I love that. But I will say, let me ask you this question, because this is what confuses me, because I too graduated high school in 3 years, and I've never gone to a reunion, and I don't know, will I go to 2023 or 2024? Because I was originally class of 04 but graduated 03, and I'm so freaking confused. All of my friends would be in 2024 for the 20 reunion,
right?
I'm so confused. I don't know.
Well, it's funny, I know
they remember.
I know from both classes of mine, and I think the same thing. Which one do I go to? Which Facebook page do I join? This one. No, but I guess I kind of knew from both, but it would seem like probably more likely than not, I'm usually somewhere or something's going over. It seems like that whenever the reunion's happening, it's not something I could go to, or I'm not in the country, or who knows what it is. But yeah, it is confusing when you change classes like that.
I know, because I wasn't able to change classes until the second half of my last year, which is probably the same for you because of the credit.
Right.
So y'all better remember me, class of 2004. Although I graduated in 2003, 2024 is the reunion I want to go to. So please make sure y'all put me on the email.
I have no doubt they remember you. I have no doubt.
Yeah, they will. I was just as crazy then as I am now. So you have traveled to all the continents in the world except one. I think I can guess which one, but man, first of all, that is amazing. I have not traveled to, I don't think I've traveled to all of them. I've definitely done Europe and Asia, obviously North America. I don't know. I haven't been to South America either, I don't think.
Yeah.
I haven't been to South America.
Antarctica.
I haven't been to Antarctica. People reside there. Is that inhabited?
I don't know if it is or not. I mean, I'm sure it's cold, but
I've always thought that. Antarctica. I feel silly. People gonna be laughing at us. We're supposed to be wise, and we don't know if Antarctica is inhabited.
I don't know who would want to live there. Let's put it that way.
Well, knowing that you're wise is not saying that you know it all either. So we good.
But no, I've been to different places in obviously the Middle East, Europe, North America, South America. I've been to Caracas, Venezuela. Spent some time out there, like 6 or 8 weeks down there, doing some work or whatever. Been to Egypt, which is part of, obviously part of Africa and things of that sort. So yeah, it's that really. I'm going to say as we talk about this, I'm going to really lean heavily on that travel, cultures and people. I think. I don't know if you know it at the time that you're doing those things, but definitely is going to tie in a great deal to being wise and wisdom.
Explain. So you're telling me that you basically gained your wisdom, which really to me is experience, knowledge, and good judgment from your travels and meeting people.
I believe so. I mean, I look back now at, even I just look back at all the times and traveling around, and I look back, I mean, I was in South Korea, we were doing up in the mountains, and it's just, little kids would find us like they always do. They would come there and hang out with, and where, they would take the long way to go to school. They would come up the mountain or whatever, just to see what we were doing and talk to us. Meeting kids in Japan, I mean, in Caracas, in Egypt, even in the Middle East and stuff. And that really, as I've looked back over it, it's like, it's how much we're alike. I mean, but I mean that, it's not just a cliche thing. I'm saying is that at the end of the day, I think people just want to be with their families, take care of their families, do the best they can every day. And I guess once I recognize that, and you're open to what people do and what they do. A story I always think about is we hit Singapore. At the time we got to Singapore, there were a lot of young Marines and sailors and stuff that hit the port, and there was a McDonald's open, and that's where they all wanted to go, was to McDonald's. And I thought, we've traveled the entire globe, and the place you want to go eat at is McDonald's. I mean, it was just one of those kind of wisdom, like, wait a minute, I'm sure they have different food and culture and all these types of things, but I think as times went on, I guess I've just always wanted to learn more about the why. Why do people do that? Not why, like questioning, but why, like, what's the history? What people, why they do the things they do, why they have the traditions they do, why is their family close? Why do they, all these different things. And it's just how they make decisions in their family. And that's what I always wanted to know, not just the pictures and the big sites and things. I've always wanted, and I think through that has helped me understand, become more wise and have more wisdom, because at the end of the day, it's just amazing. I think it's helped me in life. I think it's helped in all aspects with my children. They basically are world travelers. We've exposed them. I mean, that's kind of what we do. My wife and I, we actually have a little thing that's posted that says, expose your children to many things, right? So that they can decide what they wish to do and what they want to do in life and those types of things. We try and live by that. I mean, they love travel. They love going. They love, they're outgoing. They know how to make friends. They understand people. They listen. I mean, and I guess, that's been one of the greatest things I've had, opportunity wise.
I love that.
Yeah.
I will say it is kind of weird because I too was stationed in South Korea, and I did eat McDonald's, and it was different. The bulgogi burgers, they just taste different. And it's so, No
I
offense
will
to
say that.
McDonald's in America, but it's like it just feels fresher. And I mean, I just felt like the love and the care. You know, I even had Pizza Hut over in Korea. They had a freaking Church's chicken in Korea. Church's
Yes.
chicken. I'm like,
Oh,
how did you get here? Like
right.
Church's chicken is regional in the United States. I'm like, wow. I mean, it's phenomenal. They have Outback, you know, over there. I mean,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
it's
It's,
phenomenal.
but it's just one of those. I guess it was just, yeah. It is different, because I always say it's like, you're asking someone to make a recipe or make food that they're not per se accustomed to.
Exactly.
Again, it's kind of like grandma's recipe, right? It's like, well, I
Right.
followed exactly like grandma told me to. How come it doesn't taste the same? Well, I don't know what grandma's love or wisdom.
Exactly.
It
No,
tastes
I
better.
agree. Because when I go out of town, even if I go to like Vegas or even if I go to like New York, I'm like, we are not eating somewhere that we could eat back in
Yes.
DC. You know, like what's the whole point of us coming and spending all this money if we're just going to eat at the same places? So I totally feel you on that. But it is cool. It is awesome to see. And there are like different things
Yeah.
on the menu. But if you look at that calorie count though, those calories are way lower in those foreign countries on those menus than they are in the United States. I don't know, they trying to kill us over here. But over there, they doing something totally different. Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna ask you a surprise question.
Okay.
Would you rather have wisdom or intelligence?
Well, I, my first thought of that is I'd rather be wise. I think because I think that's the experience part of why that you truly have to experience. I mean, intelligence, is I think you can learn, right? You can become smarter.
Right.
Well, I don't know if I can, but anyway, you can become.
You can.
You can go to classes and which is a great thing that we can expand our knowledge base and things. But the experience thing, I think, is the one thing that you can't just go to a classroom and get. Interesting to say this. I was just traveling to a conference we're at, and I was talking to someone, and I was talking about how we've traveled with our children, and I said, they probably have learned more, and I'll agree that I probably have learned more from traveling and experiences than I ever have in a classroom. As far as trying to, set something up and say, oh, well, I said, it's like, look at pictures and look at videos and you can see things, but you have to tangibly have that experience. And that's something, whether it comes to you, whether you plan to do it to get the experience or it just happens in your life, I think that you have to have that. When I think of being wise, that's the experience aspect, that we all try and learn. We hope we learn from and continue to want to learn from, because I can take the classroom. So when we took our daughters to Mexico last week and they were missing Spanish class, I took videos of my children speaking Spanish with the locals and sent it to her teacher and go, hey, they're practicing, they're speaking
Exactly. Exactly. And that equates to, much more than in the classroom. I
Spanish.
love that. Like, full credit, please. Give my children their A, because what you're teaching them in the class, they're able to equate in real life, which is invaluable. I love
Well,
that.
it's funny you say. Last year we actually we had a foreign exchange students from Spain, and my children were in like their third year of Spanish, and it's getting more difficult. And I said, look,
Yeah.
I would greatly bring you an in-house tutor from all the way from Spain, where it all began, to teach you things. But I mean, they learned a lot from her. We all still stay in touch with her. But again, that experience, that's something that they got to meet and learn face to face with someone who was coming here, and all the things that they loved about coming to the United States, and my children got to learn all the great things about Spain, and they want to travel there and do things. And so definitely wise over intelligence.
Exactly. And he can say that because he also is educated. He is what degrees do you have?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Legal Administration and Political Science, and then I have a Juris Doctorate in litigation and mediation. And then I'm also an adjunct professor. I teach at one of the local universities here, teaching legal ethics and law and business and a few other courses.
He's very humble. He's using his humility, because he's wise enough to know that humility goes a long way. He has a Juris Doctorate, which is what lawyers have. So look at him, see? And he chose wisdom over intelligence. Love that.
Yes.
Man,
Yes.
the man, Roger. You're my boy, Blue. So what advice would you give someone as it relates to wisdom? Like a young person, maybe even like your 17-year-old and my 17-year-old.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Can we tell them anything? I mean, don't they know everything?
We really can't, because the internet and their friends had already told them. But what about hard work?
I will. Something I've told I have 3 daughters. So right away, I should get some points right away. I have 3 daughters.
I don't know how you did it. I stopped at that one, honey.
I will say that I have told all my children that hard work will always pay off in the end. Always. It's not necessarily on your timeline. Whatever you try. I don't care if it's just you working in a job or trying to start a business, whatever you're trying to do, that regardless, hard work will always end. You will always be successful as long as you work hard. And it may not, like I said, you can't control everything and people and decisions and things, but at the end of the day, when people want to be successful and they're decision makers and they want individuals around them, the one thing they're going to want is people that work hard and work smart. And when it really comes down to it, in the day that they're responsible, the friends and things are going to be out the window. It's going to be, who are my best workers? Who are the people that work hard? And pretty much, I think my daughters, I mean, they do that. They they definitely don't get any, like, this is hard. I'm going, I know, isn't it hard? This adulting,
Right.
it's not, but I try, and work through with them. But that's what I would tell them is, like, you have to work hard, and as time goes on, harder decisions have to be made, and you don't get to do all the fun things. I mean, I remember being young and, you had a job or if you had to work while you were in school or whatever it might have been, you didn't get to go every fun thing that was going on, and you had to make choices, and that's what it's about. But at the end of the day, working hard leads to success, and hard work will always, like I said, always pays off.
Exactly.
Always.
I tell my daughter that too. I'm like, there's 2 roads that you can take in life, and you can take the one where you work hard and it leads you to success, or you hardly work and it leads you to struggle. I mean, it's true.
And I try and remind everyone that, if I'm talking to them and they're struggling with something or something's difficult, is that, it will mean more and you will feel better. I mean, if you give up, I guess that's the thing. If you give up, you'll be, it'll seem satisfying for that few seconds.
Yeah.
And then it will bug you the rest of whatever period of time that you gave up. You stop.
Exactly. It will.
And you can't go back. It's kind of like, you go redo it. You can go back and you succeed, and you should, but that will always, why did you give up and not work hard? So I think that's kind of maybe a key to life. You got to work hard. You got to, whatever it is. And I hold that to the individual standard of each person. I mean, what one person's work hard is not necessarily somebody else's work hard, but
exactly.
You're satisfying how you believe you're working your best and your hardest, and that's really the measurement, I think. Don't compare. This weekend we went to a grad party, and I think one of the things we wrote is, never compare yourself to others. It's like they have what they have, what you don't have. As I kid my children, so like, oh, they tell them, like, I know you just live in the squalor of a house, and you just live in so bad. Life is so bad.
Yep, because we have all not started at the exact same spot. It's like,
oh no,
we're not all starting. So as long as you are putting one foot in front of the other and you're constantly making progress. And I had a conversation with someone else about this the other day. It doesn't matter if you're going fast. It doesn't matter if you're going slow. Just keep going.
You're going.
Just keep going. Because what you don't want to do, like you said, is stall. And then you have regrets. And you're going to go back to that thing that you stalled. And you're going to eat yourself up, because you're going to be like, if I never stopped, I would be this further along. Just keep going. Even when you're tired, just keep going. Even if it's just a little bit. Maybe you just take 3 steps today. And then tomorrow, when you have more energy, you take 10 steps. It doesn't matter. Just keep going.
Absolutely. Firmly believe that. Yes.
Yeah. So if you had a quote or a tagline, what would it be?
Well, I do have the one. I mean, like I said, that was my father, that always told me, it's like you can't learn. You're not learning anything if you're always talking. And I really do. And you know, Father's Day was yesterday, and I lost my father a few years ago. And I'm going to tell you, one of the things I regret the most is, just our conversations, just talking to about. I mean, it's amazing that I think you learn so much. And I think that kind of ties what I'm saying, is that you learn so much just in conversations.
Mhm.
There's never, no one. My father used to tell me, we talked about honor and respect. How do you teach that? And he's like, it's not like someone sits you down and says, okay, today, son, I'm going to tell you about how to be honorable and how to be respectful.
Right.
You're learning it every day, and you're learning it from the people around you and the people you look up to and things. And so, and he was always good. And there were days, I will tell you, that I'm sure my father's like shaking his head going, I don't think you were listening, because I probably wasn't listening as much as I should have as life. But for the most part, I always try and remember that you can learn. He also used to tell me, you can learn from anyone. It doesn't matter who they are, what they do. There are no invisible people. Everybody's a person. And really, in my whole life, have tried to take that. I remember that. But I do remember, like you said, he goes, all you're doing is telling people what you already know if you're talking.
That's right. Because if you're listening, then you
Yeah.
can't be talking.
That's right.
If you're talking, you can't be listening. Oh, well, rest in heaven to your dad, because he sounds like he was an awesome person.
He was. And again, work ethic and that type of thing. But that's the thing. And I'm going to tell you, from wisdom is the day that you realize that you are, again, how you're learning, and you look back, and it's not always like years later. It's like maybe just after a little time passes, you realize the things you've learned. And I think you always need to look back and take stock. I'm not a big home improvement, read a book kind of thing, always. But I think, you do need to pause sometimes and think about why do you think the way you think? Why do you act the way? What are the decisions you make? And try to come up with those ideas, and continually always learn, always be open-minded. I don't know. I think those are things that, fight the good fight, to check.
Well, it's been great. You've definitely inspired and empowered me, and I'm pretty sure you've done that for those who are viewing this conversation. Thank you so much, Roger. I really appreciate it.
Makes us better.
And we'll be able to cry here soon when our babies are all out of the house.
And my wife looks at me and goes, what are we going to do when it's just us?
I know. Like, I have so many ideas. I thought I did, but honestly, the closer I get to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't think that I'm as hype about it as I thought I would be. I don't think I am.
Driving her everywhere. You're going to wish you could get up and go.
I know. I talked a lot of crap, and now I'm just like, oh, don't go. She's done the same thing too. She talked a lot of crap, and lately she just feel like, I don't know.
I don't know.
Nova wouldn't be so bad. I'm like, so we'll see what happens. I'll definitely let you know.
Hey, I want to tell you something, Jessica. It is that I have watched you, from us being classmates, and now, and still watch you, telling your story and your business and everything. And I will say that you definitely are not the person, you have changed, and you are much wiser, and you have more wisdom, and you are an inspiration. I mean that wholeheartedly. You have developed into, being a mom, a wife, a soldier. And I read your posts, and I read your things, and it really is inspiring to me. Just overall, the few times I've seen you over the last few years, it's just, I stand in awe of what you've done, and what you truly are a inspiration to everyone. You bring light into a room, and you bring inspiration to people around you, and you're always looking for the good in people. And I really admire that. And I really do try and learn from you.
Oh, don't be out here making me cry. Okay? Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And likewise, same for you. And you're right. We can find the good in anybody, and we can learn from anybody. And we're here. Thanks, Roger. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in to idoaffirm's Affirmation Conversation with Roger Wilson about wisdom. I love it. Talking to Roger in any conversation about anything just makes you come out of it more wise anyways. He's really an amazing person. Just a good heart, good soul, good spirit type of person. So what Roger wanted to remind you to do is just learn to use your good judgment. Have some good sense when you out here making decisions in the world. It's important because wisdom helps us to deal with things in the best way possible to achieve the most desirable results. But wisdom, it doesn't come overnight. Time does not equate to wisdom. Wisdom is garnered through experiences and knowledge. And you have to find ways to cultivate it. That's why a lot of us love older generation, our elderly people in our families, because we can sit there and we can have conversations with them forever and learn so much because we are learning through their experiences and their education and knowledge. And it's such a beautiful thing that it's really hard to describe. But if you don't have that, you can cultivate knowledge by just trying unfamiliar things, pursuing education and reading. Yes, I know I got to read more. I read. It's usually short articles and things like that. It helps me to cultivate some wisdom. I just need to probably get into some little longer length books. And I'm working on that. I'm working on trying to allocate some time to do something like that, put it that way. But I am wise enough to know that if I want to get more wise in life, that I need to read a little bit more. So it's on my to-do list. Spend time with wise people, not people who just think they're intelligent. Because remember, intelligence does not equate to wisdom. You can get intelligence. You can buy that. What I mean by that is you can go to school and pay for those expensive books and classes for intelligence, but that does not make you wise. Have great discussions with people with differing opinions. You ever been in a conversation or been in a room with people who are having a conversation about something and you know dang on well they aren't agreeing with the person, usually the head person in charge, but they're just agreeing just to not be disagreeing? That's not wise. Don't learn anything from those folks unless you're learning how not to do something, right? It's okay to have differing opinions and perspectives. It's what makes us better. It's what makes outcomes better. And like Roger said, and this is really important, I'm still trying to work on this one, especially with my husband and my daughter. If you are always talking, then you'll never learn anything. Because if you're talking, you ain't listening. And if you ain't listening, you ain't learning. Be wise. You got this.